talking mad shit about an interesting fact. Wax's podcast. Listen to it every Wednesday.
Welcome back to another episode of the illustrious, the glamorous, the sensual, the best podcast of all time, if you don't include any other podcast besides Wax's podcast. Welcome back. My second week back after a 6-year hiatus. How am I feeling, you ask? Hypothetically, person out there? Feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good. I just got back from 2 days in Los Angeles where I worked with my boy DJ Hoppa, and let me tell you something. I still love making music, y'all. I still love just sitting there in the studio, and especially when you're just in a studio that has no windows and it's just you and the person you're working with. It's nice when it's another person, and you just kind of block out everything else, and you're just back to your childhood when you had your crayons and you just draw or color or whatever you were doing with said crayons. Crayons isn't necessarily the best way to look at it because crayons are generally just coloring inside of the line, and the creativity is kind of lost. The people that were good at coloring with crayons, just coloring pictures that already had the lines and, staying inside the lines, I don't think we're necessarily creative people. I think the people that were creative, they would go outside of the lines. They would make their own lines. They say, how come their lines are only on the piece of paper? How come the lines can't be right here in the ether, in the air? I can see the lines in the air tonight. How come the lines can't be in my mind when I dream? And the crayons can't translate. As soon as I shut my eyes, there they appear in my dream. And then Freddy Krueger comes and kills me in my dream. Yes, I was raised in the 80s and 90s. For all you youthful people that might listen to my podcast, youthful people don't get certain pop culture references, yo. My friend is working with a 17-year-old, really, really, really talented musician. And that person, they didn't know who Bob Marley was. They didn't know who Prince, Madonna, Stevie Wonder, and like all these people that were like, that are legends in our minds, didn't know who they were. Now, he may have had a sheltered background. But yeah, you never know what's going to hold up. Certain songs last over time. Certain artists last over time. But anyway, back to me being in the studio. Yeah, for 2 days in a row, I got lost. Me and my boy Hoppa, for a large part of the time, I'm in there getting lost and finishing the work. So I got a new album coming out relatively soon. Me and Hoppa pretty much finished all the songs. It's interesting when you work in the studio and you have a bunch of stuff you're already working on. So you kind of have a list of notes, like, let's see how we can improve this. Let's see how we can improve that. Let's redo the second verse on this. Let's record for the first time the bridge on this. Let's change the snare drum on that. And then you go in and you do all the notes. You address all the notes. And then one of the songs that you thought was kind of whatever turns into a banger. And one of the songs that you thought was going to be the banger turns into kind of a snooze fest. So you never really know what's going to happen. Such is life. But I think my favorite part of the entire experience, besides just kicking it with Hoppa, he's a good dude, is I was there for 2 days. And at the end, we had like an hour or two left. And we had just been working on songs that already existed and finishing and tying up loose ends. You could tidy up the loose ends before you tie up the loose ends. I don't know. Depends how loose they are. Well, you'd have to tighten up the loose ends, then tidy up the loose ends, and then tie up the loose ends. It's a lot of TIs. And then T.I., the rapper, would come in there and do something else to the loose ends. He would say probably more words because he's kind of a wordsmith in that way. First shawty, I'm not going to do a T.I. impression, but I think he does say shawty a lot. First you got to tighten it, then you got to tie it, and then you got to tidy it. Different order. But anyway, what the fuck was I talking about? How did I get out? Oh, so we had like an hour or two before I had to leave. And we just were like, yeah, let's work on something new. And it's so nice. It's so nice as an artist when you have the ability to kind of like just get into the moment. Like there's been times in my life where I was so kind of bogged down by the idea of what the result would be. In terms of like when you go to make a song and you're like, let's make a song like this that's going to sound like this. And especially when you're trying to make something for the purpose of it being successful, a lot of times you get bogged down in the idea of what the result is going to be. So you're not just like letting the process guide you. And it's nice to just let the process guide you. I think as I'm older and I give a little bit less of a fuck, while I do actually have more drive than I have in a long time to be successful, I also have enough intelligence and experience to realize that you're going to have better luck if you get lost in the moment, especially in terms of the initial creation of a song. You want to get all the way lost. Sometimes people need drugs or whatever to do that, but you want to let all the outside world disappear. It's interesting and almost guilt-inducing when you have a family and you do that, because like when you when you take your family out of your mind for a second to fully immerse yourself in the current moment and the music that you're listening to, you almost feel guilty about it sometimes. But I didn't feel that guilty about it yesterday because my family's awesome and supportive, and I was only gone for a couple of days. And in the last couple hours of me and Hoppa's sessions, we made this awesome new like song/interlude thing that I'm really excited about. And not only am I excited about how it came out, and I listened to it like 20 times today, I'm like, yo, this is a banger. But I was excited in the moment, and I'm excited thinking back about that moment of how fun it was, and just like the spirit of that couple hours. It only took us 2 hours to do this song. And that was just like one of those times where you really get back to like, this is why I do this shit. And that is why I do this shit. That's why I've been doing this for so long. I've never had like super, I mean, that's not true. I've had a lot of success with this music stuff, but I'm still not like nearly comfortable where I want to be financially and stuff like that. And there's definitely times where a logical person or somebody who just was like, okay, you're an intelligent person. What's the best way you could earn a living? This probably wouldn't be it, but this reminded me yesterday of why I do this stuff in the first place. And I think everybody has their own reasons for doing it. I might have touched on this last week, but my reason for doing this shit is because I like the creation. I get sad about artificial intelligence creating music, not because I really even care about the quality of the music being created or whatever. I'm sure I've heard it. Artificial intelligence can do a lot of great music, especially the types of music that it's good at, like music that is formulaic and music that is just kind of like based on beats that already exist and just making something similar to what already exists. I mean, we're all doing that to a degree, but I don't really care that AI is inevitably going to start making all the music that you hear in the public spaces. I'm more just like, the reason that I think it sucks is because I actually enjoy the process of it, Like, it's not about the music, it's about being a human being and enjoying creating. Like, that's why we have buildings, and that's why we have beautiful gardens, and that's why we have art and sculpture. It's not because we just want people to see the sculpture. We want the people actually enjoyed making the sculpture. And when an AI robot makes a sculpture, how do they feel? I don't know. Maybe they feel good. Maybe inside of their heads it's 011100001100001111, and that's them feeling good. I don't know. I'm clearly not an expert on the subject, but I can tell you that I felt really good about that, and that's what keeps me into this shit. I like writing. I like creating. I mean, I know some people like performing. I like performing as well, but when I'm performing, I'm kind of going like, hey, here's the stuff that I wrote. You know what I mean? Like, my performance is kind of like in the back of my head. I'm like giving you a it's like a presentation of stuff that I wrote. That's why I have zero interest ever in being in a cover band or doing covers. First of all, I'm not good at it. I don't have the vocal range to do that. But secondly, I don't like performing that. I mean, I love performing, but I don't love it so much that I want to perform other people's shit. You know what I mean? Anywho, so yeah, I'm feeling good. If you're interested in hearing some new Wax music, um, I got a lot coming up. I'm halfway done a million things, but this DJ Hoppa and Wax album, I'm not gonna say the title because I'm not 100% that that's what it's gonna be, but it's gonna come out. We're gonna start trickling out some singles pretty soon. Probably gonna take a. We want to shoot some content and stuff, so it actually probably will realistically be like we're talking about dropping a single every 2 weeks, starting like in like January and putting out the album in March. Because until then, I have all these shows. I'm gonna be in Canada, y'all. I just booked 3 more shows in Canada, so now I have a 7, possibly 8. Okay, Vancouver, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Calgary, Montreal, and Toronto. I don't know how many that was, but those are the cities I'm playing at in Canada, y'all. I'm also doing Vegas, Salt Lake City, San Diego, LA, Denver, Minneapolis, Chicago, Cleveland, Vegas, Salt Lake, which I might have already said. I don't know if I got them all, but look at my website, dude. I got a lot of shows coming up. It's gonna be a little crazy. Leaving my kid, having a kid makes the touring a double-edged sword. Speaking of having a kid, a thought that came to me this week while raising my toddler is having a toddler is like, raising a toddler is like watching somebody slowly recover from a head injury. Oh, she's forming full sentences now. Like her brain is getting a little bit stronger and stronger in terms of just like the things we consider basic, just basic functions of the body, mostly talking about speech, walking. She's been walking. My kid started walking at 10 months pretty early because she's a genius. But I didn't realize like it takes them a while to learn how to jump. Like watching my kid try to jump is funny as shit. We went to a one of those indoor kid parks where they have like just slides and ball pits and like fake little grocery stores that they have plastic vegetables and shit. But you pay like a price for the day and they can go in there with their grippy socks and hopefully not kill themselves on the trampoline that goes into a ball pit. But these little ball pits have like side ledges that kids will almost like dive off of. And my kid was trying to, she's not even 2 yet. She'll be 2 in December, but she was trying to jump off the thing. And she like does this thing where she thinks she's jumping, but she just falls right into the balls. Falls into the balls. Fall shit in the ball pit. Don't preach on the pulpit. Anyway, yeah, that was just an observation I had. A beautiful moment that I had this week with my kid too was, and people talk about this with parenthood, that this is kind of a thing that gets you a lot of joy. Honestly, let me preface this by saying like having a kid makes me think that, especially at my age and with all that I've done and kind of how childlike I am by nature, I kind of want to like eventually do some kind of work with kids, do some kind of like teaching, educational mentorship or something with kids. I think I'd be good at it, and I think I would actually really enjoy it and feel fulfilled. Feel fulfilled. I would feel fulfilled. I would feel fulfilled by it. Yeah, especially like just like, teaching little kids some basic stuff. Because this week I taught my kid, we had to get food real quick one night last week. We couldn't make dinner, and we just went to In-N-Out. My wife loves In-N-Out Burger. I do too, but people say it's overrated or underrated or whatever, but I think it's rated about correctly. The burger is good, the fries are whatever, but they're still French fries, right? And my daughter loved these In-N-Out French fries. I felt bad giving her to them because they were so ridiculously salty. This batch was like, it must have been like they made a bunch of fries and salted them, and like this specific area where the salt fell must have been the one that we got in our little fucking cardboard fry tray. Anyway, fry tray? Friday. We had a fry tray on Friday. I had it my way, not animal style. There was human beings in it. I had it cannibal style. Yeah, so I taught my daughter that there is a concept that we all consider innate, a concept that is so ingrained in us as Americans that we consider it innate is when you get French fries, you dip them in ketchup. Now, of course, when I told that to my nephew Max, my brother's oldest kid, he's like, "Ketchup sucks. Ketchup sucks. You got to use barbecue sauce. Everybody knows that." And when I'm not. He's right. There are a lot. Condiments have come a long way since the advent of the concept of dipping French fries in ketchup. So the next generation might actually be less likely to dip their French fries in ketchup. I mean, I went to Chick-fil-A. God, you would think by watching this podcast I just eat fast food all the time. It's very, very, very not true. But I did happen to recently eat both In-N-Out Burger and Chick-fil-A. And when you go to Chick-fil-A, you're insane if you dip their fries in ketchup. They have so many good condiments. They got the Polynesian sauce, the honey mustard, the ranch. All kind of Chick-fil-A. They got all kinds of sauces there. And what's nice about that is they don't charge you fucking 50. They really give out those sauces. Although I do feel bad because probably a large amount of Chick-fil-A sauces get thrown into a landfill before that you even take off that little aluminum foil cover. You know what I mean? A lot of full sauce packets get thrown away in America. Somewhere in the world, there's not a starving child, but a well-fed child that has a plate full of French fries and just doesn't have any ketchup to dip them in. Doesn't even know the concept of dipping fries in ketchup because they're not American. But I taught my daughter that she had the fries, and she was already familiar with the dipping concept because we give her waffles with a tiny bit of maple syrup, and she dips them in there. So she does know the concept of dipping. But this week she was introduced to the concept of because she was into the fries, ketchup or not. So she already had a few down. And then I poured out that little stupid packet of ketchup that gets you about, if you are a true American, a ketchup packet will probably get you 3 fries at best. You know what I'm saying? So, I showed her, yeah, you take the fry, you dip it into the ketchup. And she was like, nah. And she did it. And when she took the first bite of the fry with the ketchup, she had a eureka moment. The Alleluia song played in somebody's imagination. And that was a moment that she'll never forget. She'll forget the moment, but what I just described is why we consider it innate. You don't remember the moment you learn that ketchup goes on French fries. It's just something that happened when you were so young that it's way back in your memory banks along with some other kind of trauma. It's a non-traumatic experience that lives in the deepest canals of your brain wrinkles and can only be accessed if you have some other more important memory that happened the same day, If you learned that from your dad and then your dad got fucking shot in the face shortly afterwards, people would ask you when you're old, how was it when your dad got shot? You're like, oh, it was fucking horrible. It was right after I learned how to dip French fries in ketchup. It's the only way you would remember that memory is if something immediately really fucked up happened afterwards. Anyway, that's why we consider dipping fries in ketchup innate. But I will say, as time goes on, condiments go on. Anybody my age remembers, and I had a conversation with a young person about this a while back. But even my wife, who's only a little bit younger than me, we've talked about this as well. When I was a kid, and you went to Pizza Hut, which by the way, when I was a kid, Pizza Hut was a sit-down restaurant that you would actually order via a server, and they would bring you your pan pizzas. And if you opted to, you could go to the salad bar. It was probably $5 extra. At that time, it was probably fucking $2 extra. And you would have your red plastic Pepsi cup full of whatever soda you desired. And that you would go up to the salad bar and you'd get your little fucking plastic plate. Pizza Hut all-you-can-eat salad bar. There wasn't, it wasn't much to be spoke of on there. They might have one thing of greens. They might have 5, they might have carrots, celery, onions, croutons, and then the various dressings. But I brought this whole thing up to say that when I was a kid, a dressing that was always there was French French dressing was very popular when I was a kid. If you ordered a salad at a restaurant, they would say, what kind of dressing you want? You want Italian or you want French? And if you were to ask a little kid now, what's French dressing? I need to turn off my messages. I'm getting all these beeps. Hold on one second, y'all. My fucking text messages, which are on my computer, are beeping like crazy here. Hold on. Hopefully quitting the app worked. Everything's connected on computers. You know what I mean? It's an interesting thing. Your phone, your laptop. I got a new computer. I might have said this on the last podcast. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to stop talking about what I might have said on the last podcast. If there's some repeats, there's some repeats. If there's some repeats, there's some repeats. Yeah, so I got a new computer. What was I talking about? Let me finish my point real quick. My point is that French dressing disappeared from the zeitgeist of salad condiments. They used to be on top. It used to be top three, I would say. You had Italian, and you had French, and you had blue cheese, maybe. But you have to understand that when I was a child, they had just invented ranch. I can't remember the year, but Hidden Valley, the corporation, invented ranch dressing. I remember that Hidden Valley was the originators of the ranch. And I think that once the ranch was created, the French disappeared, much like they did in some war in the past, maybe the Revolutionary War. I believe it was the Revolutionary War where the French actually helped the Americans. And now they disappeared and all went to Montreal. So if you go up to Montreal right now, which, by the way, I do have a show in Montreal, and one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to is I know no matter what, if you order a salad there, you will get my beloved French dressing of my childhood that has much like Canadian geese, has migrated north over the course of my lifetime. But yeah, French dressing was really popular when I was a kid, and now if you ask a young person, they'd be like, what the fuck is that? It'd just be like, French dressing, ever heard of it? They'd be like, no. It'd be like, what color is it? Because anybody my age that, maybe I will say maybe my middle class background that enabled us to actually go out to eat Pizza Hut. I think probably every third Friday night when I was a kid, we went out and ate Pizza Hut. People didn't go out to eat the way they do now when I was a kid, especially where I'm from, because there wasn't any fucking restaurants. Now there's 1,000 there. But anyway, French dressing. Pour a little liquor out for French dressing in America. Or if you live in Montreal or wherever they still serve French dressing, France, I assume. Don't pour the liquor out. Pour the fucking French champagne directly into your goddamn mouth and take another bite of your spinach or whatever salad French dressing is best served on. Caesar dressing on Caesar salad, Italian dressing on an Italian kind of house salad. Greek salad has Greek dressing, which is sort of Italian vinaigrette-ish, but I don't know what it's weird. Ranch dressing too. I love ranch. I love dipping wings in ranch dressing, but the thought of putting ranch dressing on my salad is gross to me. Anyway, I did get a new computer. That's why I didn't realize when I was doing this podcast that I'd hear this ding, ding real loud because my text messages were popping up on the computer. But yeah, my old computer was fucking up. I've had it for 10 years and I need a good computer because I use my Pro Tools and do all my studio stuff on this computer. So I got a new Mac desktop computer. And I was just thinking about it when I got it, how non-exciting. It's an expensive thing to get, but it's so not exciting to get a new computer or a new iPhone. It's like this, you're getting the same thing you already had. It just got oh, well, the old one had 32 gigs and this one has 64. Oh, the old one had 2K. This has 4K. It's not like getting a new guitar or getting a new toy when you're a kid or a new bike or something like that. You're just getting the same shit you already had, just slightly better and not broken, So we all need a computer, but it's just not exciting to get a new computer, I mean, I'm happy to have it, and I'm glad that I can record this podcast without the thing fucking randomly shutting off as my old computer was doing. But, of course, once I got this new computer, I was getting the files off my old computer. I was like, what's wrong with this thing? Not too much. But yeah, I got a new computer, in case anybody's wondering. It's Apple. If you're like, I don't use Apple, I use PC, I don't give a fuck. Those are my least favorite kind of arguments to get in. It's my second least favorite argument to get in is like whether people are like people that are really, really pro Android or pro iPhone and like Android's way better. You have an Android? I can't believe I don't care. That's my second least favorite argument to get into. My least favorite argument to get into is when like two people see a fucking pillow and it's kind of like turquoise or it's kind of like light green but also light blue, and people are like, that's blue. And then somebody's like, you think that's blue? I think that's green. Or like my kid has a pair of shoes that are kind of red but they're kind of orange. Like to argue about whether it's red or orange, that's probably my least favorite kind of argument to be in. But I think next time that happens, I'm going to try to, just for my own like meta enjoyment, I'm going to try to extend the argument as much as I can and just see how long I can make that argument last. I might even just, you see like a reddish orange pair of shoes. The person's like, oh, look at those orange shoes. Orange, those are red shoes. And I'm like, they're kind of purple, huh? I didn't think out this bit. This was in the moment. I apologize. Why do I have a pen right here? Why do I have a pen? I don't write that much, but I will say I wrote something today. That's why I'm going to keep looking over here. I had a couple notes, and I actually wrote them down on the back of an envelope. What is this? This envelope is probably the latest. I get all these fucking notices, and I don't know, man. I have a lot of things that I need to attend to. Tax stuff, business stuff, switching my address on stuff, things like that. Anyway, speaking of things I have to attend to, it's been really grinding my gears recently. All of last week, my wife bought a ring doorbell. A ring doorbell, for those of you that don't know, is a Ring camera that also has a doorbell function. It is something you put on your front door where people can ring it, but also it's a security cam, so you see their stupid face, and you hypothetically see any intruders or malevolent-minded squirrels. Evil pets from next door. Anybody evil that might be approaching your front door will be caught dead in their tracks because my Ring doorbell also has it's also a gun, and any movement is just met with fucking Uzi, a barrage of bullets. Any movement. So outside of my door, it's just a bunch of first it was dead lizards. I shut off the app and the fucking thing still beeps. So outside of my front door, ever since I installed this Ring camera that's also that whenever it detects any movement, just a barrage of bullets for like a 20-foot radius in a circular pattern go off. First, it was like a bunch of dead lizards. Secondly, it was like a couple dead dogs. And then like a couple children and neighborhood joggers got killed. And then the cops started coming. They're like, what the fuck's going on with all this murder? So then behind the freshest piles are the piles of cops. It's like constantly fucking going off because now there's firefighters and first responders and rescuers. It just keeps, shut up. It just keeps going off. It's like it won't stop killing people at my front door. Anyway, no, for real, I digress. I've realized recently that I digress is actually like, it's not like, it's like a weird way of saying you already digressed. Like when you say I digress, you're actually saying let me stop digressing. Pardon my digression that I previously did. Because it's weird. I digress is like a present tense thing to say. So I digress. I digress currently. I am digressing. I am living in the moment right now in This moment involves me digressing. No, I do have this Ring doorbell that I've been meaning to install. And every time I got to do something around the house, even if it's something simple, I dread it because I know something's going to go wrong. I'm not a handy person. I never have been a handy person. Even as a kid, my dad is a very handy person, and my dad is, me and my brother are adopted. So my dad who raised me he has a different like brain genetically than I do. He's an engineer and he knows how to fix stuff. And I never was good at that. I could always sense that my dad thought I was an idiot, and that still to this day, and he's right. But every time I got to do, and even the smallest thing around the house, I kind of get nervous about. I'm like, how's this gonna go wrong? And I always relate any time that I do something that goes wrong in terms of fixing stuff around the house. I don't go like, oh, that was difficult. I go, oh, I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. I'm not a real man. Shit like that. But that said, in the rare occasion when I do something and it goes well, I do get a sense of pride and whatnot. But anyway, so the thing I've been meaning to do is set up this Ring cam. And it's not crazy complicated, but it's not, at my old house, I had a Ring camera where you just had to, outside the door, you set up this little, you basically just attach the dock of the thing to the wall and then put the fucking thing in there. And every once in a while, you got to recharge the battery. But this thing actually attaches to the wires that your doorbell were initially used for. And the person who I'm not the first person who lived in this townhouse. Me and my wife own this townhouse, by the way, which is kind of cool. But, if we rented this townhouse, maybe I could talk to the landlord about this. But now I got to actually definitely pay somebody to do this. But anyway, I went through the steps. The person who lived here before already like ripped out the wires for the fucking doorbell. There's no way to test if the doorbell works because they had some weird security camera on there it was attached in a haphazard manner. You know what I'm saying? So I turned off all the power so I wouldn't get fucking electrocuted, which I don't. I think for the low voltage kind of thing that the doorbell actually uses, it would just be like I don't think you'd really get electrocuted, but I'm not really taking any chances. I don't want my daughter to have to say, I don't want my daughter when she's old to go, yeah, when I was 2, my dad got electrocuted. It was the same day he taught me how to fucking eat French fries with ketchup. So now every time I go to In-N-Out, I think of my dad's fried body because he was trying to install a fucking security camera to keep us safe. Ironically, he couldn't even keep himself safe in the moment. Long story short, the long story has already been long and I haven't said much of the point of it. There really is no point. The only point is, I installed this fucking Ring cam and it wouldn't turn on. It's supposed to get power from the wires that go into the doorbell. And I have this little AC tester. When I turn off the power, the thing doesn't beep. And when I turn on the power, the thing does beep. So there should be electricity in those wires. I thought I connected them properly. I tried it again the next day. And then the next day I went to Lowe's and bought like a cheap little doorbell just to see if these wires even worked. And they, according to what I can gather, they don't. So I think that's like you reach as like just a regular dude homeowner, you reach a point where you go, okay, I gotta ask a real man that knows how to really fix stuff and create stuff and understand stuff, because I don't know if something somewhere within, if it's in the wall, there's only a few things I'm doing in the wall. You know what I mean? So I got to call somebody. Hopefully it'll be somebody cheap. And it's just another thing around the house where it's like it's like a little simple item on a to-do list, and then it becomes like a week worth of shit that to my own credit, I wasn't too negative on myself with this one, but a lot of times if I have to do something and I just like fail at it, which has happened, I beat myself up about it. I'm not a handyman, y'all. People, and I'm not only, they say that part of talent is passion for what you're talented at. Like somebody might be really good at something, but if they don't enjoy it, then I don't know. I think that just doesn't happen that much. I think that they say that, like, if you're good at music, there's a good chance you're going to want to make it. And the reason that you practice a lot is not just because, like, yeah, somebody said that I'm really good at this. It's because you want to. You enjoy it, and you enjoy nurturing that talent. So a lot of people that are like, yeah, I love construction. I love doing stuff around the house. Like, they're probably good at it. I don't love doing that. I dread doing stuff like that. And, I don't, that kind of stuff is not, this kind of stuff that gives me joy. The idea of buying a house that's a fixer-upper and, like, you see these TV shows where they, like, flip this house and you go in there, like, the bathroom's all fucked up and they're like, oh, we got to redo the cabinets. I'm just like, fuck all that. Let me buy it after. Y'all flip it. Y'all can flip it. I'll be the person that buys it afterwards. I don't want to rip out the old pool and put in a nicer pool with marble. Just sell me the shit when you do the thing, and I'll enjoy the pool with marble. I don't want to fucking do any of that shit. The idea of flipping a house, like the idea of buying a house then just selling it for more money, cool. But the idea of actually having to put in work to the house and, like, the enjoyment that people get from that, it doesn't work for me. That is not something that. What's the opposite of grind? That oils my gears. Fixing houses for me grinds my gears. Putting in that ring cam grinded my gears. Going to the studio with DJ Hoppa and getting lost in the moment and making these wonderful songs oiled my gears. Anywho, do I have anything else written on the... No, I don't have anything new. Oh, you know what I was going to do is I was going to fucking do some questions from the audience, which I didn't fucking look up. I didn't look up any of the questions. I don't even know how I would do that. The problem with this whole, I have a video feed on my podcast now, is that, like, now the video and the audio are tied together, and I don't feel like fucking stopping either of them. But I also am recording with my phone, so I can't use my phone to look up what any of the hypothetical questions would be. But I think I probably should do that. Okay, I'm back, and I have some questions from the people that watch/listen to my podcast. If you want to send a question, it's beatsforwax@gmail.com, beatsforwax@gmail.com. When I used to do my podcast back in the day, what I would do is I'd look through the questions and kind of pick a few that I wanted to answer. And right now, I just really quickly looked at my inbox, and the first three that are there are the ones I'm gonna read. I promise that next week I will be a little bit better about curating the questions and being ready with the questions before I actually get into the podcast. So if you sent me one of these already, the people who just sent me the shit happened. I don't really know what that means. I'm just going to do the goddamn questions. beatsforwax@gmail.com. I will curate the questions better next week and all weeks going forward. I'm still oiling my gears. I'm still oiling the gears that I used to use for the podcast, which are currently have been grinding for a while. Anyway, this is from Justin K. Hey, Wax, I'm writing this email to you immediately after seeing that you are making a triumphant comeback with the podcast. Hopefully there are many more to come. I haven't listened to it yet, so I'm not sure if you still plan on doing questions. I do. I'm super excited to hear that the Piecast is back. Here's my question. I, like you, nice use of commas, Justin K., have a brother I am very close with. In fact, he's probably listening to this right now. I'm not going to say his, whatever. If so, shout out to you, Reen. We used to be best friends and do everything together. However, as life goes, you get married and have kids, and you move to a new home, and then you see each other off way less than before. It's tough being away, but at the same time, you get to experience the love and joy of having kids and be a part of something bigger than yourself. You must have huge kids. It's really amazing, but I do miss my bro and often find myself reminiscing on our past together and the good times we had. I'm sure you have gone through something similar with your brother, Herbs. How is that transition for you going from seeing him all the time to much less later in life? Do you find yourself reminiscing about your past a lot? As always, much love, Wax. Peace, Justin K. Well, thank you for the question, Justin K. I thought this was an interesting one to answer because I have an identical twin brother, and we grew up. We lived in the same room, and even when we left the parents' house and went to college, the first 2 years of college we lived in this. We were roommates in the dorm, and then even after that, I think we were roommates in a house for a while. There was some. The first time me and my brother weren't roommates, if I remember correctly, is like he did a semester abroad. He studied in Mexico for a semester, and that was the first time we weren't roommates. But as life has gone on, we both ended up moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. But for 13 years, I lived in Los Angeles and he lived in San Diego. And during that time, I was pursuing my music, as I still am. And he was having kids and raising his family, who I love very much. But a couple years back, something with the pandemic and me getting sober and all this stuff, I kind of had the same kind of thoughts you're having, Justin, where I was like, man, I miss my brother. I miss hanging out with him. And it actually takes it to another level that I actually love his family as well. His wife is like my sister. His two kids are, they're my nephews, but I feel like they're very, very close nephews. And that was the main reason that I decided to move to San Diego, is just to be closer to my family. I still work, like I said, I was with DJ Hopper the last 2 days. He's in LA. It's only a 2.5 hour drive, if you go fast at night. So I moved here knowing that I could still go to Los Angeles to work if I had to. And now, man, especially since then have gotten married myself and had my own kid, it's amazing. It's amazing to live like a lot of families live, where on Sundays you get together and you either order a pizza or you cook. We don't really order pizza that much. We cook something. We had a spaghetti this past Sunday. My brother's whole family came over here, and everybody loves my daughter. My daughter is kind of like the center of all of our universe in a way right now. But we all came over here and had a big spaghetti dinner. We went outside, and my kid went to the playground and went to the bike, and my nephew Max is skateboarding, and he just started high school. My nephew Manny is in middle school, and my nephew Manny is he's funny, man. He's taller than his older brother now, which is pretty awesome and funny to see. But both of them are really funny, really cool and talented kids. And it doesn't matter. My point is that we all get together as a family. Now, I do miss, my parents and my sister on the East Coast, we do miss them, but it's nice to get together with my brother. Me and my brother have a very special relationship, being identical twin brothers. And yeah, it's the shit, man. Shout out to your brother. Maybe you guys should just move closer to each other and just make it an effort. Relationships involve effort, and it's much harder later in life when you have a lot of shit going on. Like, the older you get, the more you lose touch with the friends of the past. Once you hit 30, not a lot of high school friends. 35, not a lot of college friends. 40, not a lot of people you met through your job in your 30s. Whatever it is, I don't know. Time passes, and people, as that one Kanye song, the people in your life are seasons. But it's not even seasons, because it's it'd be as if every season was a brand new season, because it's not really a repeat. But some people stay. I think also, the more that you travel, the more friends you make, but the more old friends you lose touch with. I think some people from my hometown, for example, that are my age might still hang out with the same people that they hung out with 30 years ago. But if you move away, you kind of lose that, and you might meet some people at the new place that you lived, and maybe those friendships will be short-lived. I don't know, but some people stick around more than others. I can't really sometimes you have a friend and be like, why are we such good friends? I think about that. There's some people in your life that you just form a real fucking bond with. Like me and my boy Davey are just so close. And we always talk. We talked on the phone this morning. There's not a lot of dudes in my life like that, And I don't know what it is. We're just close. We just formed a kinship that was brotherly. And I have a few other friends like that too, but I don't know why. I can't really put my finger on why me and Davey are so close. And then like, I don't want to name anybody's names, but me and other friends that I feel were close friends are not as close. But you do have to put in an effort, So I would say, Justin, just start, however often you call your brother, start calling him twice as much as that. All right, this is from Sam W. Hey, Wax, thrilled about the podcast being back. Wednesdays just haven't been the same. What else happens on Wednesdays? It's called Hump Day. What else happens on Wednesdays? Big congrats on your reinvention as a family man. Ooh, my question for the running out of things to say section of the pod is related. How or when do you know that your partner is the right person to start a family with and ideally spend the rest of your life with? Because no relationship is perfect, right? And I'm sure there's always doubt, even if it's just a slither. I'm 28 now, and at the beginning of that part of my life, me and my GF of 2 years are starting to have serious conversations about marriage and kids. But going from years of single life and casual dating into a monogamous long-term future can feel a little scary. How was that for you? By the way, it's weird to think that I discovered your music and has been a fan since I was 14, and now this is the topic. Life moves fast. Thank you. Peace from Hamburg, Germany. Well, thank you from Hamburg. First of all, thank you to you and your compatriots and distant relatives who invented the hamburger. A lot of people, such as myself, when they were a kid, always wondered why a hamburger was called a hamburger when it was a ham. And then some point in my life, I realized somebody told me that, well, it's just like the Frankfurter. It was invented in Frankfurt. The hamburger was invented in Hamburg. And I've been to Hamburg a few times. I did shows there. And so shout out to you and your relatives. And I would like to thank the Americans who invented the ketchup and French fry thing, because that, for the world would be a better place if we just all melted our foods together. Maybe we can get together with somebody from Japan and put some sushi on our burger and ketchup French fries combination. Anyway, I'll shut the fuck up. I digressed. Now I'm trying to get back on track. How do you know if your partner is the right person? I don't fucking know. When I was 28, I probably would have said the same thing as you. I had long-term relationships. I'm 46 now. So I think when me and my wife met, there was a not only a very special connection between the two of us, but also we were older and fully formed, and we had relationships in the past, and we were kind of weathered in a way in that sense. But I think even more so, yeah, we were weathered in the sense that we had both had some relationships in the past, but we also were randomly both at a point where I think we were had our shit pretty together as individuals, So like that whole thing about like, you gotta love yourself before you find love. I think that happened with us. But how do you know she's the right person? I don't know, dude. I'm being a horrible person to ask because I thought that with a lot of people that ended up not being the person. So I would say you just got to fucking give it a shot. If you have an inkling, just go for it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you think it might be, try, if you think it's not, and it's a pretty, maybe you got to talk to some friends, be like, okay, this happened. Is this worth stopping this shit? You might need to get some outside advice. I'd need more information if you want to be like, how do I know if this is the right person? I'm gonna be like, well, give me some examples of things that have happened. If you tell me, well, she looks at my phone all the time to make sure that I'm not talking, I'd be like, that's not the right person. If you say like, well, she always has my best interest in mind, maybe that is the right person. But yeah, man, congratulations on you and your girl. When I think of, it's funny because with age comes thinking that a younger age is younger than it is. Obviously to some people 28 is old and you're about to start marriage and kids. To me, 28 is fucking a baby, dude. Fucking a baby. 28 is a baby. To me, when I was 28, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I probably thought that I knew what was going on, But all the people I knew that had marriage and kids when they're 28, now they're on their third marriage and they got stepkids and shit. You know what I mean? That's not true. Me and my brother had, I think he was probably about 28 when he got married, and he's still with his wife. Everybody's story is different. But I would say there's no way to know without trying. I think that if you have any sense that it is the right thing, you should just go for it. All right, this is going to be the last email I read. And I was really, really excited to see this email because it's from a longtime listener, a longtime fan, somebody I've met several times at my shows, somebody who always brings me good presents at my shows, and hooks me up, man. One of the nicest people, and the fact that I got an email from this person makes me excited and happy that I did start the podcast. I'm talking about the one and only Ed from Chicago, y'all. Ed from Chicago just said, "Today is a good day. Thanks for bringing back the podcast. So many people missed it. It was great to hear you ramble again. I agree with so much you said. Let me know if I can do some more opening songs bits for you again. That was so much fun. You've been smashing it with the music since then." Well, thank you so much, Ed. I appreciate your compliments, and I appreciate you coming back for another round of Wax's podcast. If you're new to the podcast, what he's talking about is I used to do, I have an intro song for Wax's podcast that I played. Hopefully, if I found it, I don't know right now as I talk if when you started this podcast, if I had found the original intro song to Wax's podcast, which anybody that grew up with watching a lot of television in the 80s would know that it's just the Light Bright jingle with different lyrics that I put zero effort into. Whenever I started a podcast, I just made it real quick. But I made the Wax's podcast jingle, and back in the day when I used to do my podcast regularly, people would send me their own versions of jingles, and I might have them somewhere on a hard drive somewhere. They might be gone forever. I don't know. I'm not very good at saving things, whether they be physical or digital. I mean, I guess digital is still technically a physical thing, but you know what I mean. Sometimes I put something on a hard drive, then the hard drive dies. So that means a couple years later, I don't have that random folder full of photos from 2009 anymore or whatever. So I don't know that I have any of the old jingles. I don't know that I even have the MP3 file that is the initial original Wax's podcast jingle. I might actually have to go back to old podcasts on Spotify and just record the beginnings of them to find these old jingles. But people did used to make that was kind of a thing on my podcast back in the day. People would make their own jingles for Wax's podcast. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but I'm saying that's what Ed is referring to. And on that note, I think I'm going to end this podcast. I appreciate all you guys listening. Come out to my shows, man. Wax.com, WAXDOTCOM.com. The shows have been going. I've been kind of gaining some success in my music career, y'all. My manager's killing it. My boy Quinn, who shoots all my content, is killing it. More people, the last tour I did, I was selling more tickets. People in Canada are buying. The Canada tickets are kind of going fast. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to do this tour. As I said last week, what really makes me happy when I do these shows is that people have been listening for a long time, and I'll do the old songs and people get nostalgic, and you can feel people's nostalgia in the air when you're there live. It's a feeling you can't really get in another situation. There's something really magical about live music. So when I said earlier the thing about performing, I'm not really talking about performing my own music, and I do enjoy the energy exchange of a live performance, and I've been getting really fucking just goofy with it recently. I talk a lot of shit in between songs. I might need to actually slow that down. I watched a tape of one of my recent shows, and I was like, damn, I talk a lot between the songs, and that makes the set longer than I thought it was going to be. Sometimes sometimes I'm just get to the music, but it's also fun. Anywho, that's Wax's podcast. Be safe out there.